Hello, everyone. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Thomas I. Likeness, broadcasting from our studio in Edmonton, Canada. And to our Canadian viewers, a happy Thanksgiving Day today. The Canadian holiday actually predates the first American Thanksgiving by 43 years. Yours began in 1621. As the story goes, in 1578. English explorer Martin Frobisher and his crew gave thanks at what is now called Frobisher Bay in the Canadian Arctic. The explorers gave thanks for their safe arrival to the Canadian North. Oh, what was for dinner? Salt beef, biscuits, and mushy peas? I think I like my turkey dinner better. Well, in the news today, we have updates from several of our correspondents from across North America. I'm Alan Ramos in Washington, D.C.
Supreme Court nominee Justice Amy Coney Barrett begins first day of hearings. And second presidential debate is a no-go.
Anna Cui in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Medicare open enrollment 2021 with lower premiums on the way.
Mayanne Manzano-Garzon in Sicklerville, New Jersey.
New Jersey announces $60 million in coronavirus emergency relief funds for counties and local governments.
May Davila in Ciudad de Panama tells us about the boost to the country's tourism industry as Tocumen Airport has reopened to commercial flights. We'll also hear from Julienne Fiesta in Delano, California.
Los Angeles celebrates Lakers' 17th NBA title.
We'll have the latest from the business world with Bobby Soriano in New York City, plus a conversation with our Eagle News team about that neighborhood farmers market that we just can't get enough of. But first, an overview of how COVID-19 looks now. According to the Corona Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University in Medicine, as of 6 p.m. Eastern Time today, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide now more than 37,600,000. These are the top three countries with reported positive cases. The United States, nearly 7.7 million. India, more than 7.1 million. Brazil reports more than 5 million cases. And sadly, 1,078,000 people worldwide have succumbed to this virus. The top three countries with reported COVID-19 deaths. In the United States, the infection has claimed the lives of more than 215,000 Americans. Brazil has more than 150,000 COVID-19 deaths, and in India, more than 109,000 people have died from the virus. Our coverage begins now. U.S. President Donald Trump back on the campaign trail today. Rally tonight in Sanford, Florida. It's his first trip outside the White House since being released from Walter Reed Military Hospital. Not bothering to wear a mask, the president left the White House earlier this afternoon to board Air Force One. Similar rallies are planned in Pennsylvania, Iowa, and North Carolina. That'll all begin tomorrow and continue throughout the week. And for the first time since being diagnosed with coronavirus, the White House has definitively said that Trump is tested negative for COVID-19. White House physician Dr. Sean Conley says a rapid test was used today on Trump. And Conley adds that the negative determination had taken into account a number of measurements and not just the rapid test alone. Trump has been sidelined since his diagnosis 10 days ago. Hearings began today for Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett. Eagle News Washington correspondent Imelin Ramos is following that story. Imelin, how did day one go?
Hi, Tom. The first day of hearings began on Capitol Hill for Supreme Court nominee Judge Amy Coney Barrett, President Donald Trump's pick to fill a Supreme Court vacancy. Judge Barrett was accompanied by her family, all wearing masks, and she kept her black face mask on through the hours-long opening remarks from Senate panelists. Questioning of Judge Barrett will begin on Tuesday. Since the Republicans hold a slim majority of the Senate, Democrats are largely powerless to block the confirmation of Judge Barrett. While Republicans praise Judge Barrett as a competent nominee grounded in family values, one Democrat summarized his party's hostility to her confirmation, calling her a judicial torpedo fired at the health law that protects millions of Americans. Democratic vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris also spoke via video link and called the decision to hold the hearings amidst the pandemic as being reckless. Let's take a look.
The decision to hold this hearing now is reckless and places facilities workers, janitorial staff, and congressional aides and Capitol Police at risk. Not to mention that while tens of millions of Americans are struggling to pay their bills, the Senate should be prioritizing coronavirus relief and providing financial support to those families.
Democrats and their presidential candidate, Joe Biden, are demanding that the nomination be suspended until after the election so that Congress can focus on passing a stimulus package to help struggling American families. Despite their opposition, Democrats are largely powerless to block Barrett, with Republicans holding 53 of the 100 Senate seats. Expect a lively, if not contentious, hearing tomorrow as the Senate begins questioning Judge Barrett. Also in Washington, D.C., this week's showdown between President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden has been canceled, according to the Commission on Presidential Debates last Friday. It was set for October 15. In a statement released by the Commission on Debates.org, they stated, quote, "The campaigns of the two candidates who qualified for participation in the debate made a series of statements concerning their respective positions regarding their willingness to participate in a virtual debate on October 15, and each now has announced alternate plans for that date. It is not apparent there will be no debate on October 15, and the CPD will turn its attention to preparation for the final presidential debate scheduled for October 22. After the first presidential debate, many were hoping that the second would be able to allow each candidate to better express their positions to the American people. Let's just hope that the October 22 schedule will push through." In Washington, D.C., I'm Melinda Pramos, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Tom.
Hi, Melinda. How much of an issue is Judge Barrett's nomination going to be in the election? I mean, does the average person really care, given that they're dealing with the problems of the pandemic and the economy?
Yes, Tom. Oh, happy Canadian Thanksgiving.
Well, why, thank you.
Yes. So, Tom, people that dislike the president might actually dislike him even more with the nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett. But I think this will not be an issue in the election. We are only 3 weeks away to the election, and most people have already made up their minds. So I think there's nothing that the president can do to shock us anymore. So I think this latest incident with the nomination regarding Judge Coney Amy Barrett will not have an effect with the election. However, we all know that anything can happen, right, Tom?
Anything in politics. You know, I'm sure tomorrow's nomination hearing of Judge Barrett will be exciting, to say the least. But I'm curious, how did she handle day one of the hearings? Did she speak today? And if so, what did she say?
Yes, she actually spoke at the end of today's hearing. She had prepared remarks, and a copy was also posted at judiciary.senate.gov. She spoke quite eloquently. She thanked the president for nominating her, and she spoke lovingly of her family. She also spoke about how she clerked for Justice Scalia and mentioned other women that were on the court, such as Sandra Day O'Connor and Judge Ginsburg. She spoke graciously, but at this point, it's not up to us to decide, but it will be up to the U.S. Senate to confirm or deny her nomination.
And I've got to ask, what is the major objection the Democrats have to Judge Barrett?
Yes, Tom. Well, at this point, the Democrats can question Judge Barrett tomorrow during the hearings. So we'll know more about what Judge Barrett thinks on certain issues. Right now, generally speaking, Democrats are against the whole nomination process. They want the nomination process after the elections. But since the Republicans hold the majority in the Senate, the Democrats are basically powerless to block the nomination. We've also seen from some Democratic senators that they are afraid that if the Supreme Court leans to the conservative side, Roe v. Wade might be overturned, and so might the Affordable Care Act. But we'll know more during the hearing when Judge Barrett will be questioned by the senators. Tom?
It's all going to be interesting, and I'm sure you're going to be following it for us. Thank you for joining us tonight, Imelin.
Thank you, Tom.
In Britain, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced new restrictions in an attempt to reduce the spread of COVID-19. The three-tiered system is designed to simplify a complex web of local restrictions. Johnson says the latest numbers means the government must act now.
Entering a new and crucial phase in the fight against coronavirus, because the number of cases has gone up 4 times in 4 weeks, and it's once again spreading among the elderly and vulnerable. There are already more COVID patients in UK hospitals today than there were on the 23rd of March when the whole country went into lockdown, and deaths, alas, are also rising once again. These figures are flashing at us like dashboard warnings in a passenger jet, and we must act.
Johnson says this is not how we want to live, but he says it's the only way to avoid a full lockdown. Just how tough are these measures? Well, Johnson says they will mean a big lifestyle change.
At a minimum, they will sadly include a ban on all social mixing between households in private places, including gardens, and pubs and bars must close unless they can operate solely as a restaurant, serving alcohol only as part of a main meal. We will also ask people not to travel into and out of very high alert level areas.
Almost 14,000 new coronavirus cases and 50 deaths were reported today in Britain. Well, let's go underground, somewhere beneath the Earth's surface. What you see here is what the Japanese call the underground Parthenon. It's a cavernous complex, and it's designed to protect Tokyo from catastrophic flooding. Experts say the risk of that is increasing yearly because of climate change. And officials say since this underground reservoir was built, the number of houses damaged by torrential rains and flooding has decreased by 90%. You know, just simply a matter of some simple engineering. To prevent flooding, you have to provide drainage and give the water a place to go. Up next, we have reports from Las Vegas, Nevada, Sicklerville, New Jersey, and Ciudad de Panama. Eagle News America continues.
Sumaya tayong lahat. Saya-saya.
Hello there. Imagine Demi got the virus, and she infected 2 more, and those 2 infected a lot more of people. And it goes on and on until it became an epidemic. But what if Demi stayed at home? Then those 2 wouldn't have contracted the virus. Then those people would have not been infected. This is not just your battle, it's everyone's, and you can be a huge help. Follow social distancing, or better yet, stay at home.
You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. In Nevada, Medicare open enrollment 2021 with lower premiums is on the way. Standing by in Las Vegas is Eagle News correspondent Anna Cui. Anna, will this improve coverage for people?
That's the hope, Thomas. Thank you. And before I continue, happy Canadian Thanksgiving to you.
Oh, thank you again.
Now, according to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, under the leadership of President Trump, the average 2021 premiums for Medicare Advantage plans are expected to decline 34.2% from 2017, while plan choice, benefits, and enrollment continue to increase. The report states that the Medicare Advantage average monthly premium will be the lowest in 14 years since 2007 for the over 26 million Medicare beneficiaries who are projected to enroll in 2021. Additionally, the Trump administration announced that patients who use insulin will have a monthly copay of no more than $35 due to the abundance of Medicare Advantage and Part D prescription drug plans to choose from. Now, that's a significant change because right now, some of the copays that patients pay for insulin are well over $100. And if, depending on if it's a brand name and depending on the health plan, it can go up to over $300, and that's per month. So some may be asking, what are Medicare Advantage plans? These are private health plans that cover all Medicare benefits plus additional bells and whistles. They hope to make them more competitive. People have the choice, though, to keep their traditional Medicare plan or choose from one of those Medicare Advantage plans. So, what are the difference between traditional Medicare and these Medicare Advantage plans? Well, the difference is with this traditional Medicare, first of all, the coverage is only 80%. So the beneficiary will have to have a supplemental plan to cover the additional 20%. The good thing with the traditional Medicare is it can be used anywhere, any of the states, as long as the providers accept Medicare. With the Medicare Advantage plan, with the traditional Medicare, it does not include the prescription drug plan. So the Medicare Advantage is a bundled plan. It includes all of that, plus the Part D, which is the prescription drug plan, and they only pay a copay when they use the services. So CMS states that there will be over 1,600 plans to choose from, and because of this, Administrator Seema Verma from CMS said, and I quote, "Once again, President Trump has delivered tangible results for America's seniors." She also stated that these changes made by the Trump administration confirms that market competition works. Now, I just want to mention some of the highlights for 2021. Monthly plan premium, as we mentioned, it's expected to decrease by 11% to $21 from an average of $23.63 in 2020. Now, for someone who is retired and on a fixed income, that can make a big difference on their budget. And in a handful of states, including Nevada, Medicare beneficiaries will see an average decrease of over 50% since 2017, according to the report. Now, what are some of the bells and whistles that certain health plans will have that are not traditionally covered by Medicare? Well, those will include increased access to telehealth, which we've learned to be more valuable than ever during this pandemic. Other benefits include therapeutic massage, pest control, home cleaning services, enhanced meal home deliveries, and enhanced transportation services for non-medical reasons, such as trips to the grocery store. It all sounds great, right, Tom? But could also pose a problem for some because there are so many choices, they might not know just which plan will be right for them. In Las Vegas, Anna Cui, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to
just listening to you, Anna, it sounds all confusing, and that's the way insurance always seems to be. At least when I've shopped for car insurance or house insurance. In the case of this Medicare plan, what are the key factors that people should look for before deciding on which health plan they're going to choose?
Yes, thank you for that, Thomas. Now, before I answer that, I actually want to mention too that Medicare is not only limited to 65 and older. We mentioned senior population, but it's also available to those who qualify for disability. They can also enroll in Medicare plans. Now, key factors, the senior population, I believe, have adapted to the tech world. So, they can be very comfortable surfing the internet, to do their research. But, some of the things they should really take in consideration is, cost, what's important to them. Some health plans may not cost so much, as far as the premium, but then what is it going to cost them on the back end for their prescription drugs, or vice versa? So they really have to, look at their medications, and like, for example, the insulin, some plans may have better coverage for the specific insulin that they take. And then also, one of the most important key factor is, their providers, their primary care doctors, the specialists that they see, especially for patients who have chronic conditions like diabetes or chronic congestive heart failure or COPD. They've come to develop relationships with their specialists, and it's really important that they continue with them, for care. So that's the key factor. They have to choose the health plan that's going to have, especially for the Medicare Advantage plans, they usually contract with medical groups. So these patients will need to ask, the questions. If I choose this plan, will my doctor still be, will I still be able to see the same doctors? Back to you, Thomas.
Sounds like value should be a factor rather than price, but definitely it's going to be needing a little bit of research, Anna.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for your report this evening. We move to the other side of the country now, New Jersey, where the state has announced $60 million in relief funds. Eagle News correspondent Mayan Manzano-Garzon is standing by in Sicklerville. Mayan, who is the beneficiary of this money? Mayan, I believe you're muted. We'll get back to Mayan in a moment. We'll go to Panama now in Central America, where there's good news for the tourism industry. Panama's Tocumen Airport has reopened to commercial flights. We have details on that from Eagle News correspondent May de Villa in Ciudad de Panama.
After almost 7 months of closing operations due to restrictions due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Tocumen International Airport restarted international commercial flights Monday, October 12. On its first day of the new normal, 80 daily operations are scheduled to 36 cities in 20 countries and 7 airlines providing the service. Flights have been scheduled by the airlines Copa, Air France, Wingo, Iberia, United Airlines, KLM, and Spirit. On the end of October, Delta Airlines, American Airlines, and Avianca are scheduled to resume their operations in the Panama hub. Turkish Airlines and Air Europa are expected to resume theirs as of November and December, respectively. The incoming and outgoing flights are from the United States, Colombia, Ecuador, Chile, Guatemala, Argentina, Brazil, and Dominican Republic, among others. All passengers must present a certificate of swab, PCR, or negative antigen tests with a minimum of 48 hours without the need to comply with mandatory isolation. 3 swabbing stations are set up for those who do not have a negative swab certificate. The tests applied to passengers take between 20 to 25 minutes. If the results turns up positive, it will be coordinated with the Ministerio de Salud for the application of the respective protocol. Meanwhile, 85% of the businesses that operate in the terminal also opened their doors today. Authorities emphasized that only those who are going to board the flight can enter the airport, and those who will arrive will be received in specific special area. The government also lifted the restrictions so that other sectors such as hotels, motels, rural hostels, lodging places, and complementary services, with the exception of beach activities, can operate. With a capacity limited to 25%, pools can be opened. Today is also the schedule to reopen theaters, cinemas, museums, galleries, and tourist sites with a closed structure at 50% of their capacity, which can operate every day with the exception of the curfew and total quarantine times established by the Ministerio de Salud. Desde Ciudad de Panama, May Davila, Eagle News, vivimos en tiempos interesantes.
Up next, we'll have reports from Delano, California, and we'll have business news with Bobby Soriano in New York City. Eagle News America continues.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Tayong mga Filipino, likas na palabati. Sanay rin tayong makipagkamay. Pero dahil na rin sa COVID pandemic, isinusulong ang pagbati na hindi na kailangan pang makipagkamay. Ang pambansang pagbati. Ito ay ang pagdampi ng kanang palad sa gitnang bahagi ng dibdib, kasabay ng bahagyang pagyukod ng ulo o paibabang tingin, at pagsambit ng mga salitang nagpapahayag ng pagbati, paggalang o pagpupugay. Pagkatapos nito ay ang pag-angat ng ulo ng nakangiti at nakatingin sa mata ng pinabati. Pambansang pagbati, pagpapakita ng paggalang, kababaang loob at pagiging sensero nating mga Filipino.
Kumusta po? Ito po si Wawi Di Guzman, ang inyong lingkod. At samahan niyo po akong sumayaw at kumindak para po sa pinakamalaking talent search on Philippine Television. Ito po ang part 2 ng Tagisan ng Galing. Dito lamang po sa Net 25. Kita-kit!
You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Thomas I. Liknos. In New Jersey, the state has announced $60 million in relief funds. Eagle News correspondent Mayanne Manzano-Gerzon is standing by in Sicklerville. Who is the beneficiary of this money?
Thank you, Thomas. In a report released by the Office of Governor Phil Murphy, him, alongside other state officials, announced $60 million from the Coronavirus Relief Fund, or CRF, for the local government emergency fund to aid counties and municipalities that were excluded from the federal government's direct CRF allocation plan. The COVID-19 crisis has severely impacted county and local governments in New Jersey, and they are facing increased costs in health benefits, health and human services, public safety, overtime, equipment, and supply expenditures. These relief funds will help to address necessary and unexpected expenditures necessitated by the pandemic. Take a look.
So we're all pleased to be together to announce an initial $60 million investment of federal coronavirus relief funds to provide direct relief to local governments for costs they have incurred in fighting this pandemic. Some of our counties and municipalities qualified for direct relief from the federal government. However, many others did not. In fact, 12 of our 21 counties did not, and that includes Burlington County, and it includes Evesham Township as well. The new, what we're talking about today, local government emergency fund that we are creating today is about ensuring that all of our communities are treated with equal respect. So over the past 7 months, and Mayor and Heather and council members, I don't need to tell you this, but many municipalities have taken on millions in unanticipated and increased costs. Everything from, and this is a partial list, but to give you some idea of what you've been up against, public safety and health-related expenses, COVID-19 related overtime, increased residential and health-related garbage collection and sanitation services, purchasing remote working technology, signage for residents to know how best to contact local officials regarding our response and recovery, and retrofitting public spaces so they can be reopened, among so many other pandemic-related expenses.
The local government emergency fund allocation formula uses a variety of relevant metrics, including the municipal COVID-19 infection rate, fiscal stress, the municipal revitalization index or MRI, population and public safety and health and human services expenditures share of the budget to determine the amount of funds counties and municipalities receive. Funds awarded may not be used for government revenue replacement, including the provision of assistance to meet tax obligations. Eligible expenditures must be incurred during the covered period between March 2020 and December 30, 2020. Meanwhile, here is today's statistical report of New Jersey's COVID-19 cases. According to the Department of Health of New Jersey, we have 478 new positive cases, bringing a statewide total of 214,097 New Jerseyans tested positive. Sadly, we have one new death, pushing the total to 14,387 lives lost. New Jersey remains on stage 2 of its road to recovery. And for some weather update, Thomas, it's currently 10:31 in the evening here in New Jersey, and it's currently cloudy. It is 58 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 degrees Celsius. The high today was forecast as 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 16 degrees Celsius. In Sicklerville, New Jersey, May and Manzano Garzon, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Thomas.
Man, what's the impact of this money on counties and local governments?
Well, yes, Thomas, according to Congressman Donald Norcross, I believe he was one of the proponents, this funding will have a profound impact as it will provide the local governments with vital funding needed to help cover unexpected costs from the pandemic and keep our first responders and other essential workers safe and on the job. Thomas?
Thank you for joining us this evening, Mayan. Well, I don't think there were any surprises last night as the NBA Finals wrapped up. Eagle News correspondent Julianne Fiesta is joining us from Delano, California. Julianne, a big night last night for the Lakers.
Yes, Thomas, thank you. So Los Angeles celebrates the Lakers' 17th NBA title. The Los Angeles Lakers are once again NBA champions after trouncing the Miami Heat in a one-sided Game 6 victory, making history by not only winning their 17th franchise title, but by tying the only other team with as many championships under their belt, their old rivals, the Boston Celtics. As LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the rest of the Lakers organization celebrated, a number of iconic venues also displayed their congratulations to basketball's top team, such as Cinderella's Castle in Florida's Disney World, LAX, and the Santa Monica Pier, all of which were lit up with LA's renowned purple and gold. While back at the Staples Center, some Angelenos took to the streets, ecstatic that after a 10-year drought, their Lakers would once more be bringing home the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Unfortunately, some fans got out of hand with nearly 80 arrests being made when various individuals began throwing objects at police and causing damage to local businesses. But these relatively few troublemakers are in no way representative of true Lakers fans who are completely overjoyed with this latest championship. Let's listen to what fans have to say. Take a look.
Oh, yeah! Yeah!
As an avid Lakers fan, I was so happy to experience that championship win last night by the Lakers. Watching them capture this championship was so fulfilling, especially during these hard times. Going through the tragic death of Kobe Bryant and experiencing this pandemic and also watching this social injustice around us, I think that it brought us all together to cheer for this team, see the success that they've achieved, and we are so happy for all of the Laker fans out there. We finally did it. It's been a while.
My family and I are really big LA sports team fans, so everything LA, Lakers, Dodgers, Rams, LA Kings, everything LA. So obviously watching the Lakers win the championships was super exciting for us. And overall, the whole postseason has been super exciting, especially considering the circumstances we're in, being home all day. Watching their playoff games and their championship games gave us something to look forward to at the end of the night. And 2020 was all the more reason to win the championship, for Kobe. And when are you ever going to get another NBA season at Disney World with virtual fans? So it was a super fun season, and go Lakers!
Woo! Finally, Lakers winning the championship last night, their 17th championship. And it's been many years. Last one was 2010, and let's hopefully that we can keep this going with LeBron James on the team. And three-peat, that's what I'm thinking, three-peat. We gotta go for a three-peat. I'm just excited, man. It's 17th championship, and it's finally, we've been waiting for many years. Let's go Lakers.
I'm so happy and so excited for these Lakers. It's been a long 10 years as a Lakers fan for us to be in the finals, let alone win this championship. I'm so happy for them. I'm so glad that they put all this hard work and dedicated this win towards Kobe and Gigi, and of course to us Laker fans. But I'm just so excited. I'm happy that a lot of these guys got to witness and experience their first finals and win their first finals. I'm just so overjoyed, and I hope and can't wait to see more in the coming.
Hopefully the next NBA season will be free from the shadow of the COVID-19 pandemic, but that's a conversation for another time, because right now, celebrations are what's on the minds of Lakers fans. In Delano, California, Julian Fiesta, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Thomas.
Julianne, this NBA season has been a tough one, not for the entire league. Games delayed, players had to be away from their families for extended periods of time. That list just goes on and on. But for Los Angeles specifically, this championship run has been so meaningful because of the passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna. What kind of impact has this had on Lakers fans?
Thomas, once the Lakers won, there were so many scenes of absolute jubilation. People were yelling, hugging each other, and chanting Lakers, but it wasn't just Lakers they were hollering. Fans were also shouting Kobe. A lot of fans were emotional, and rightfully so. We saw people in tears saying Kobe's name, all the while clutching their Mamba jerseys. Thomas?
Thank you for your report tonight, Julianne, and go back to the celebrations.
Thank you.
From the business desk, Eagle News business correspondent Bobby Soriano updates us on several topics. Earnings season is beginning, retailers have launched a new Black Friday, and there are investor concerns over the number of people that were watching the NBA Finals.
U.S. equity markets have closed for today. Bond markets were closed due to the holiday. Here are your latest business headlines. Earnings season begins this week, the time period when a large number of public companies report their quarterly earnings is of particular importance this year, as it will provide a strong indication to investors and analysts the extent to which companies are adjusting to the new pandemic economy. Big names such as JP Morgan Chase, Johnson & Johnson, and United Health are set to release their earnings this week, while Tesla, Verizon, and Netflix are some of the big names set to announce next week. The new Black Friday also begins this week, as retail stores such as Target, Best Buy, and Walmart are set to begin large sales events to counter Amazon's Prime Day, which begins tomorrow. These events, which typically last for several days or more, are an attempt by retail to spread out their typical Black Friday one-day sales over the entire season, as social distancing measures look to limit the number of shoppers after the Thanksgiving holiday. The Los Angeles Lakers defeated the Miami Heat last night to clinch their 17th NBA championship. Stay tuned to our sports team for the latest headlines surrounding LeBron and company. Meanwhile, on the business side, Disney investors have shown concern over the record low viewership, particularly games 1, 2, and 3 of the finals with a 48% lower viewership than last year's NBA finals. Disney, owner of both ABC and ESPN networks that aired the finals, was hoping that ad revenue from the games would come close to the $288 million they made from last year's NBA finals. But with the recent viewership numbers, that does not look to be the case for this year. U.S. indices closed strongly in the green today, with investors looking forward to better than expected earnings results this week and continued stimulus talks. Reporting from New York, Bobby Soriano, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Still to come, the Correspondents' Roundtable talks about the farmers market we couldn't get enough of. You're watching Eagle News America.
Gustong-gusto ko yung fake news. Bakit di nila makukuha yung tamang sagot?
Bawal ang fake news. Bawal mali-mali.
Tonto ako sa fake news, hindi nila makuha yung tamang sagot.
Team Papa Hip Hop Queen!
Ang gusto ko yung PN's the key.
Kasi nakaka-relate din ako dyan. Yung misis ko madalas umorder eh.
Ang red ba? Ang confirmed or cancel?
Gusto rin namin magbigay ng pag-asa sa ating kapwa, lalo na sa panahon ngayon.
Ang gusto ko dyan, ayudawan, nakatulong na, nakakatawa pa.
Driver Grab, nag-deliver, driver Grab.
Ang gusto ko po dyan yung ayudawan kasi marami pong natutulungan na tao.
Salamat po. Maraming salamat po. Unang-una po sa ama.
Maraming salamat po. Ikwento ko po ito sa aking mga anak.
Gusto ko sa happy time, maalis tayo. Tonto kay KitKat.
Iyan o.
Iyan o.
Bilang head ng panel of judges, makakasa po kayong dekalidad na talento lang ang makakalusot sa aking mapanuring mata at pandinig. Ako po si Imelda Papin, nagbabalik bilang isang hurado sa singing category. Kita-kits sa pinakabago at pinakamalaking talent competition on Philippine television. Dito lang sa Tagisan ng Galing Part 2, here on Net 25.
You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. Well, October, harvest on the farm is pretty much wrapped up. And that's why it's an appropriate time to celebrate National Farmers Day. Well, here's a little background. It was previously known as Old Farmers Day. And on this day, we recognize farmers who provide the nations with the food we eat, but also their contribution to the economy, billions and billions of dollars to the economy, to our export economy. What are some of the ways we can thank our farmers? Learn the farm-to-table process. You know, too many young people think food comes from the grocery store. Where does milk come from? Well, the grocery store. Where does meat come from? The grocery store. We have to change that. The grocery store is the final place the stuff ended up, but where did it come from? It came from the farm. City folk, how can you support your local farmers? Well, buy your fruits, your vegetables from a farmer's market, or some of them have you pick them kind of farms where you can go out and pick fresh produce yourself. You can buy it right at the farm gate. Those are some of the ways you can help your local farmer. I want to ask my colleagues here at the virtual roundtable, our virtual roundtable here, about the farmers market they patronize. You know, what and why are what are your favorite items and why? What is your favorite farmers market? We'll begin in Washington D.C. Imelin.
Hi, Tom. I don't usually go to farmers market because the products they sell here, well, here in the DC area, are usually more expensive than the usual supermarket. But when the pandemic started, I got more conscious with the food we eat or the ingredients I used to cook and started going organic. Plus, I always argue that although it is more expensive, it's helping local farmers. So I go to a farmer's market stand along the highway, just like 2 miles away from our house. They have fresh selection of vegetables and fruits. I will say it's really good. But what I always wait for, the freshest milk and honey. I think that's the best milk I have ever tasted. And it's really, I don't know, I'm still amazed up to now that the supermarket, the milk that they sell, it won't compare to the milk that I've been getting to that farmer's market down the road.
You know, I got to agree with you, Imelin. And prices and everything, it's value. It's value. It certainly is more expensive, but again, you get what you pay for. I mean, you taste a tomato, for example, out of the supermarket, and it's okay, but you get one fresh from the farm. and we just got a bunch about a week ago. I'm sorry, say again?
Yeah, the tomatoes, I have actually compared them in the supermarket. When I use them, it's kind of pale reddish, if you know what I mean. But when I tried the one in the farmer's market, it's red. It's like the color is there. Well, yeah, that's why I still patronize it as much as I can.
We're going to talk with Anna Queen now in Las Vegas. You're out in the desert there. What do you have for farmers markets there?
Hi, Tom. So
Anna, I think you're...
One that I used to go to. So, hi, Tom. So the one that I usually go to, it's called Fresh 52, and I haven't gone actually since the pandemic, so it's been a while. But I used to love their there was the one who sells honey, like Imelin mentioned. The honey it doesn't compare to the ones that you get at the store, even the ones who claim to be serving organic products. And I'll never forget this one Fiji apple that I bought from this one farmer there, and she never came back. I was only able to buy it once, and it was the best Fiji apples I have ever tasted, and I can never find it anymore. So I'll keep looking.
Keep looking. Gets frustrating though. Mayanne, tell us about farmers markets in New Jersey.
Well, yes, Thomas. Mine is called Stella Farms. It is actually a 15-minute drive from my house. We love supporting local businesses, especially our farmers, because actually my grandparents are farmers in the Philippines. So here in this Stella Farms, we go like 2 to 3 times a month because we love they're very popular or known for their sweet corns. Well, actually, Thomas, South New Jersey is very popular with their sweet corns because they're very sweet. It is also where I learned the proper way of boiling them. So you just boil the water and then throw the corn in, then wait for 3 minutes, and then remove the corn from the water. 3 minutes only, and you get a very fresh, sweet corn. And also, Thomas, I'd also like to share, well, I am not advertising them, but I'm also subscribed to Misfits Market. So they are selling ugly produce. So ugly produce meaning like deformed vegetables or deformed fruits that are rejected by the supermarkets. So they sell these deformed or ugly produce, and that way we help in lessening the tons and tons of vegetables and fruits that being thrown to the landfills. So I'm subscribed to them, so I get a box twice a month, and it feels like I'm getting gifted every like 2 months, like semi-weekly, because I don't know what's in the box, so I'm always surprised. So sometimes I really get to see or explore the vegetables that I don't know. Like it's funny because I received this deformed, ugly beets, and then I sauteed it, so the food was like purple and red and not edible at all because I didn't know it was beets. But you know, that's the joy of being subscribed to this Misfits market, and I really like supporting our farmers, and I'd really like to encourage also everyone to buy the ugly produce, not just the beautiful, perfect fruit and vegetable that we get from the supermarket. Thomas?
Ugly produce. I didn't know it had a name. We bought some the other day. We were out at a farm, sort of getting the tail end of their crop this year, as the produce had pretty much been picked, but there were a few ugly ones left. Nothing wrong with the taste on them. Nothing wrong with the taste. Let's check in California with Julianne. Farmers markets in California, what are they like? Farmers markets in California, what are they like?
Okay, so where I live is actually the Central Valley, which is pretty famous. It's actually known for producing most of the fruits and vegetables in the U.S. So coming from Tulare, Kern County, and Modesto, we are actually one of the outputs for the United States. So there's lots and lots of places where you can get fresh produce. And especially in Delano, which is the city that I live in, we're pretty famous for having grapes. Our grapes, I remember my cousin actually in Canada, she randomly called me one day and she was like, hey, I bought grapes at the supermarket and they're from Delano. And I was like, whoa, they made them all the way over there. So that was really cool. And knowing that we're a farming county, there's usually farmers markets, 5 minutes, and then you drive 5 miles and there's another farmer's market. You drive another 5 miles and there's another farmer's market. So there's lots and lots to choose from. And as everyone has said, they're more fresh. I feel like they're a lot tastier just because they come straight from the farmers. So there's lots and lots of places here in Delano.
Delano, yeah, we probably get produce up here from Delano. We get an awful lot of produce from California. As a matter of fact, that's the only way we can survive the winter here because nothing grows in the snow. Nothing grows in the snow here. But you know, we in tribute to farmers on this National Farmers Day, Governor Larry Hogan of Maryland said agriculture is one of the oldest, most demanding, and essential professions. And that's true. That's true. It's demanding. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a job you can train for because there's just so many things you have to do. Not only do you have to know the agriculture side of things, you have to be a mechanic because you break down in the middle of the field, and with margins so thin on profits, you can't afford to have somebody come out and fix your machinery. You have to be an innovator. Farmers have invented all kinds of things. All that harvesting equipment you see there, the ideas came from farmers who tinkered around with it, and some of them ended up with big manufacturing firms. You know, John Deere, you've seen John Deere tractors. He was a real guy. I lived in the city next door to where John Deere was that city's first mayor, Moline, Illinois. I lived next door in Rock Island, but yeah, John Deere was a real guy. He was a plow maker who just ended up in Illinois, and look at what that became. You know, farmers feed the nation. They're the ultimate entrepreneurs, we talk about billionaires who started with nothing, and you know they took a chance. The guys who take a chance every day are farmers. Look at what they have to contend with. You've got weather, you've got markets. Are people going to buy what you've got? Everything's going along nicely, and then you get a hailstorm, a tornado, just all kinds of things that farmers have to deal with. They gamble every day. The crop was great right up until the end, and then we got an early frost. So yeah, my hat's off to anybody that's going to take a chance and be a farmer. How many of you out there? Let's just quickly go around the table. How many of you out there grew up on a farm or had a close connection to the farm? Imelin. Were you a farm kid?
I have no. No, I grew up in the city, but I have uncles who are farmers, so I'm pretty close.
You're close to a farm. You know what they go through, and you know it's not an easy life. Anna, did you have any farm connection?
No, Thomas, I do not.
Anna?
But I did visit. Can you hear me, Tom?
Yes, I can.
I did not grow up in a farm, but I did visit the eco farming of mushrooms that my church has.
Okay. Yep.
And that was I learned a lot. And those are the best tasting mushrooms.
We're just losing you there a little bit, Anna, but I'm like you. I was just a city kid, grew up in the city. Although I had relatives that had farms, and we would go out there for a visit, but never really had a full appreciation of it until, ironically, I was assigned to the farm beat at one radio station I worked at, and yeah, you learn pretty quickly. You learn pretty quickly what these guys have to go through. Mayanne, your farm connection.
Yes, Thomas, as I mentioned, my grandparents on my mother's side were farmers, so they would, depending on the season, depending on the cycle, because I believe it has something to do with the soil, they would plant rice, tobaccos, eggplants, tomatoes, and they would
quite a variety mix.
The markets, the local markets. One of my best memories actually came from the farms, you know.
Hey, Julianne, out in California there, were you a city kid or a farm kid?
Were you a city kid or a farm kid?
I think you're muted there, Julianne.
You're muted.
There we go.
We seem to be having
rather than being a city kid or a farm kid, we had. Oh no, are we good? You hear me, brother? You hear me, Tom?
Okay, we can hear you now. So were you a city kid or a farm kid?
Okay, great. We had fields, so we did a lot of grape picking, and so my dad was a grape picker at one point. My grandpa also did grape picking, and you know how you tell your teenagers to learn the value of hard work by making them work at like an ice cream shop or maybe a fast food joint. All of us did grape picking, and let me tell you, Tom, that is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. It is so hard under the sun with the dust, crammed down.
Think about doing that for 40 years. Well, here's another group of people that we never forget to recognize, and that's our healthcare workers, our first responders, our essential workers, all those folks out there on the front line. Let's give them a round of applause now. We appreciate you. And that's today's edition of Eagle News America. We thank you for joining us. I'm Thomas I. Likeness, and we truly live in interesting times.
Lampas ng pagluha